Salams and welcome. Thank you for joining me in another episode of the Quran in English Basics for Beginners. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. So, that ex-prisoner, the cupbearer of the king, went to Yusuf alayhi salam in the prison, and he repeated the dream of the king, and immediately Joseph interpreted the dream. Note the Quran does not mention, Joseph did not scold that ex-prisoner and say, "But didn't I tell you to tell the king about me? How could you have forgotten? You make me suffer in the prison unnecessarily. What's wrong with you?" He didn't say nothing of the sort. He simply interpreted the dream for the king, and the cupbearer of the king, the former prisoner, went running to the king with all the courtiers and armed guards and so on, because this was a royal decision, or a royal messenger was now going around. He went up to the royal palace, got to the king, and gave the explanation that Yusuf alayhi salam gave. And the king was astonished. All the executive members of the council were astonished. All the wealthy people who were sitting there, the ones who fund the king, all the honorable members of parliament, and all the members of Senate and Congress, they were all there. All the Fortune 500 CEOs, the chairmen of the board, all the who's who of society, they were all there listening to this cupbearer interpret the dream, and they were all stunned and astonished. And so the king said, "Bring you him unto me." So the messenger went back to prison. But when the messenger came to him, Joseph said, "Go you back to your Lord and ask him, what is the state of mind of the ladies who cut their hands? For my Lord is certainly well aware of their snare." Look how amazing, but yet how emotional this interaction is. Here is the former prisoner. The king is saying, "Bring Joseph to me." So this former prisoner, who is the friend of Joseph, he comes rushing with all the bodyguards and everyone, and he's so excited with the news to say, "Joseph, Joseph, I've got fabulous news for you. You are free. The king is giving you your freedom. Come, come, come. They're going to honor you. They're going to give you a prize. They're going to give you so much lekker food. Everyone is waiting to meet you. Come, 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 come." And Joseph said, "No, I'm not interested." And this guy gets a shock. He gets a skirk of his life. And he says, "I don't want my freedom. I can only have my freedom with honor and dignity. I only want to be released if all the charges against me, those false charges, are removed from me. I do not want to step outside this prison while the people must look at me with skew eyes and to think that, oh, this guy was guilty and the king pardoned him." No, they must know that they falsely accuse me. And those women, those high society women, they were scorned women because I rejected them, but I did nothing wrong. And their husbands also conspired, because they did not want the woman to get infatuated with me. And so all of them, all these rich people, they must understand the difficulty they put me through. But I have done nothing wrong. I will only come out when my name has been cleared. So he said, Yusuf alayhi salam says, "Go you back to your Lord and ask him, what is the state of mind of the ladies who cut their hands? For my Lord is certainly well aware of their snare." The king said to the ladies, "What was your affair when you did seek to seduce Joseph from his true self?" The ladies said, "Allah preserve us. No evil know we against him." Now the truth comes out. But now can you imagine the scenario? Here the entire parliament is full. They are all sitting in the royal, well, there won't be a parliament, but anyway, in the royal kingdom. Or the king is there, his royal advisors are there. All the wealthy people in society are there with all their dress, all the fineries, and all the fabulous clothing, and each of them got so many servants, and they're eating a sumptuous buffet and meals. And the wealthy of the wealthy, the who's who of the Egyptian society, the Fortune 500 CEOs, the multi-mega, multi-millionaires and billionaires and oligarchs, they're all sitting there. And the king is also astonished as to the message sent by Joseph. But now all the people gathered in the court now understand, and they know exactly that the king has got a soft spot for Joseph, and the king is respecting Joseph, and the king wants to release Joseph. So they know that, hey, the king and Joseph are on the same side. And the king wants to find out from the ladies what had happened. They cannot lie now. Now they cannot lie because they want to be in the king's good books. And they realize that, this is the only guy in the prison who gave the interpretation for the dream. So he is already in the king's good books. But he gave clear instructions to the king. Ask those women what went on there. Ask them in front of everybody in this public gathering. Now the women are put onto the spot, and the men are also put onto the spot. They know very well. They regarded it as a small thing. But can you imagine the first thing that Joseph said when he was given his freedom? He said, I want to find out from that ladies why they said what they did. Now imagine how much hurt he was going through all these years. The emotional pain he was going through, that he was an innocent fellow. He harmed nobody. Yet these ladies wanted to seduce him. And when he said no, they threw him in jail, an innocent fellow. And he suffered in jail for what? He was totally innocent. So every single day, every hour that he was in jail, he was thinking about these women and how they betrayed him, how they spoke lies against him and made him suffer in this way. And that is why he wants his name to be clear. But now the woman realized, the lady said, Allah preserve us. No evil know we against him. Said the Aziz's wife, the one who started the seduction and who got all the other royal ladies involved. Right now she is admitting, now is the truth manifest to all. It was I who sought to seduce him from his true self. He is indeed of those who are ever true and virtuous. This say I, in order that he may know that I have never been false to him in his absence, and that Allah will never guide the snare of the false ones. Nor do I absolve my own self of blame. The human soul is certainly prone to evil, unless my Lord do bestow his mercy. But surely my Lord is oft forgiving, most merciful. Allah indeed is Ghafurur Rahim. So the king said, because now the truth is open. Everyone now understands the great honor and dignity of Yusuf, the great level of patience that he had, the sabr that he showed, that even though they accused him wrongly, he bore his suffering with great patience. And he is such an intelligent person. He is filled with so much wisdom that Allah has given him the gift of the interpretation of dreams. And now his name is finally clear. So now the king said, okay, now I understand what is going on. So bring him unto me. I will take him specially to serve about my own person. I'm going to give him the number one spot. He's going to be my right-hand person. Right? Take him out of the jail immediately. I want him here next to me. Because he's got the wisdom that nobody else in my kingdom has got. So I want him right next to me. Look at the status. From the lowest of the low, Yusuf alayhi salam is now being brought into a high position. Like from prisoner to president, right? So very, very high position. Therefore, or prime minister, right? Therefore, when he had spoken to him, he said, be assured this day you are before our own presence with rank firmly established and fidelity fully proved, right? So now there's no doubt about you. We're going to dress you in the finest royal kingdom clothes. You're going to be the highest of the royal members of our kingdom. Right? We have given you that green. You have got the highest VIP role. Now, once Yusuf alayhi salam has got this position, can you imagine all the wealthy people in the community? They would all want to get close to him. And this happens all over the world as part of politics. That, hey, he's the latest celebrity. We want an autograph. Maybe we can get contracts out of him. We can get tenders from him. We know, yeah, actually he was a very good fellow. I knew him. Yeah, I knew him when I was young. Yeah, actually he was a nice fellow. Then all of a sudden people will then be more gracious because now they want their own pockets to be benefited, right? So Joseph said, set me over the storehouses of the land. I will indeed guard them as one that knows their importance. Now, this is very, very important, Mensa. This applies to us in South Africa, it applies to us on the African continent, and it applies to politicians and governments all over the world. The storehouses of the land is basically the wealth of the land. The wealth of the land, your resources, whether it is your gold or your diamonds or your banking institutions or the property of the land. But in that case, we are talking about the cows, the cattle, and we are talking about the grain that's been collected. But if we have to extend this understanding, is that the wealth of the land must be in the hands of a very honest person, a person with the highest morals and integrity. And the reason for that is that such a person who has got a straight moral compass will not accept any bribes. He will not be part of any corruption with regard to tenders. He will not be involved in bribery, corruption, or trying to enrich himself. He won't say, I'm going to take some of the resources of the land and enrich myself and my family. My father is suffering, my brothers are suffering. Let me get myself rich and wealthy, and I'm going to give it to some of my friends. Let them give me bribes. He won't do that, as what we are seeing in South Africa, sadly. In South Africa, the wealth of the country is being misused. Instead of benefiting the population, only a few people, 5% of the people, are getting enriched by the wealth of the country, and the majority of people are suffering. We know that there's bribery, there's corruption, there's criminal cartels in government, there's criminal cartels in civil society. And unless we have a person who's God conscious, who has fear of the Creator, who remembers the Creator all the time. So in our country, South Africa, asseblief mense, let us appoint honest people and hard-working people and God-fearing men and women who will never ever take a bribe, who will never ever do underhand schemes, who will never ever embezzle money or funds, who will never ever be involved in corruption with the tenders, whether it is the tenders for the construction industry or the tenders for the schools or the tenders for medical equipment or for the tenders for fixing up our potholes or for the tenders for the prepaid electricity, and so on and so on and so on. We need the most honest people in the land, the most upright and God-fearing people. And in that way, we can save the whole of South Africa and the African continent, because then we are dividing and sharing the resources as and when it is needed. So in fact, I would suggest we must in fact formulate, and every government in the world must formulate, a department of honesty, where the most honest people in the land, whether they are black or white or colored or Indian, the most honest people in the land must be appointed to the Department of Honesty. And that Department of Honesty must be involved in all the finances of the land. And there must be God-fearing people. They must be so straight, straighter than an arrow. And they are the people you can never bribe them. And don't abuse their honorable role. And it is because God, most merciful, had groomed Joseph, the prophet Joseph, peace and blessings be upon him, to this particular very important role. That is why not only Egypt, but the entire Arabian Peninsula was saved from the 7 years of hardship that is about to come onto them. But God is giving them an ability for 7 years of great, 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 great blessings and abundance of wealth. But if the wrong guy is there, the wrong guy will abuse all that wealth. He'll just say, hey, let's blast it. Let's have a party, guys. We are doing so well. But Joseph knows the importance of taking the resources of the land, because now he's got to do accurate budgeting, not just for these 7 years, but he's got to do it for the next 15 years, because he knows 7 years of blessings, then followed by 7 years of hardship, when a lot of people are going to die. And there's going to be great suffering. The animals are also going to die. And if the cows are going to get so thin, there won't be milk for the people. So he knows the importance, the great responsibility on his shoulders to make absolutely sure that these storehouses are not only protected by royal guards. So he has to make sure, look, the storehouses are not yet built. So initially he was involved in a construction industry. So he was given permission by the king to do whatever it needs just to save the people of Egypt. So he built huge storehouses, and he made sure there was no corruption or tender processes in the building of the construction of the storehouses. He also had to make sure that there were no rats or mice who could eat all the mealies. He had to make sure that it was so well secured that criminals could not steal the resources of the storehouses. He had to make sure those cattle and those cows, the 7 fat ones that he saw, it could have been 70,000 cows or 7 million cows, it doesn't matter, Allahu Alam, but he had to make sure that, to tell each of the farmers, guys, your cows, we want the resources from the cows, all the milk and all the meat and all the skins of the cows, and that must be all accounted for. And he will tell all the farmers the grains of the land. I want all the grain. I'm going to give us some of it for the people. Some of it for the people. For example, 10% will share it among the people, but 90% I'm going to store it. And I'm going to store it in such a fabulous way that it's not going to become rotten or going to get destroyed. And I'm going to make sure that there are no fire hazards, because we don't want our storehouses to get burnt to the ground. So there was a great responsibility on his shoulder. And he had to ensure that the team of people that he employs in his department are similar to him in honesty and hard work. Thus did we give established power to Joseph in the land to take possession therein, as when or where he pleased. We bestow our mercy on whom we please, and we suffer not to be lost the reward of those who do good. But verily, the reward of the hereafter is the best for those who believe and are constant in righteousness. May your life be full with barakah and blessings and abundance and goodness. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen.